Tuesday's Times now, and America's Defence Secretary is talking about nuclear sabre rattling, which suggests a very steampunk hybrid technology to me.
It'd be OK if it was just sabres, wasn't it? But it's sort of like world obliterating weapons we're talking about. Yeah. You don't really want to rattle them. But yes, it's our daily nuclear apocalypse story. So Putin's threat to go nuclear in Ukraine may not be a bluff. And this comes from Dick... that's a different story. This comes from Lloyd Austin, who's the former... he's a former something... American... Oh, no, he's the American Defence Secretary. Sorry, I've read so much on American policy today, I'm getting them all jumbled up in my head.
He's not a very well-known figure, although he's clearly got quite a senior role.
I think I would know that, but I try and ignore the Biden administration. So he's saying that Putin could do this. He made the irresponsible decision to invade Ukraine. Why couldn't he do this? And he's saying, there's a good bit here, Putin would probably not use nuclear weapons immediately, which is good, isn't it? It'd give a sort of waiting probation period before
he's given enough warnings, and it's been like 200-odd days.
Yeah,
so
give enough time for Tom Cruise to be parachuted in to deactivate the codes.
What if they put it on a high shelf?
The reassuring part is he's saying they may just do a cyber attack across Europe instead. So
I'd be happy with that. If Facebook went down for a few hours instead of London being radioactive, that'd be a boon for humanity. But I don't think Putin will use nukes. There was the former CIA director, General Petraeus, I think he's still called General. He says, Putin could possibly use tactical nuclear weapons on the battlefield in Ukraine, but it wouldn't change anything. And he says if they do, America will go in and just obliterate the Russian standing army everywhere in Ukraine, in Crimea. Everywhere. So, Putin knows he'll be completely wiped out. Putin will be hanging by piano string from a lamppost in
I would
St.
imagine.
Petersburg.
It's a suicide mission for him, but on the other hand, he's getting backed into a corner at this point. He may feel that he doesn't have very much. That speech he made a couple of days ago, I expect you discussed it maybe over the weekend or something, but and our friend Constantine put his translation up. But I've actually just watched it a couple of times as well, just with the subtitles. I think you need to watch it to get the sense of it. There's a really sombre kind of edge to it. Do you know what I mean? It's not like watching Biden speak. It's not like watching a British or an Italian or a German politician speak. It's much more like watching a death cult kind of take their final orders, you know what I mean? It's quite sobering.
Some people attack me on Twitter for criticising that speech. What I noticed about the speech was it had something for everyone. It had something for the left. It talked about the evils of colonialism, but it had some stuff about gender ideology for the right. It was an attempt to sort of appeal to everyone.
Well, he actually used the same language as the new Italian Prime Minister.
The progenitor one, progenitor two instead of mother and father, And there was it was a very selective history. He talked about the bombing of Dresden, but he didn't mention the bloke that was bombing us, you know what I mean? And he didn't mention Stalin, he didn't mention Yalta. It was all just, you've all treated Russia terribly forever. I was amazed at the amount of people just took it on face value as if he has no agenda. But you know what I mean? It's like, he's making a lot of sense, guys. But the one thing I did think was a reasonable criticism was that we don't hear speeches like that in the West. Back in the time of like Tony Benn or something, we'd have these amazing high-level discourse. Now we get net zero and do women have penises? And you hear a leader actually giving a broad intellectual sweep of history. You can see why some people went, oh, that's interesting. You know what I mean? But you have to obviously apply your critical faculty.
There was something quite concrete to it as well, wasn't there? I think that's the thing that if it rattles a few windows because he has specific instances and he kind of names the devil a few times.
But he's going back. He's going back to like the 1940s to find his
But
instances.
I just mean, generally speaking, if you listen to Biden speak for that length of time, he would just talk a lot about freedom and our way of life, and our democracy, whereas...
And he'd need an injection halfway through.
He gives specifics, and some of them are true. Dresden was a bit a bad incident, you know what I mean? So he gives those truths, and then he moves on to make a wild speculation off the back of it.
Objectively speaking, you have to acknowledge that there were some clever buttons, some well-chosen buttons were pressed,
Yeah, but he's a smart guy. You don't get to be the leader of Russia for 20 years without being smart. But I don't think his nukes will even work. The trucks they went into Ukraine with didn't work. The tyres didn't work. So, an intercontinental ballistic missile is a few orders of magnitude.
You'll be called Putin apologist now. The clip would be smart guy. He says,
I'm sure.
He's a smart guy.
I just think he's... Oh yeah, he obviously is, quite intelligent, but also the sense of paranoia and victimhood, which is bound to resonate well with left-wing people in the West.
And he is starting to look a little bit old, finally. Let's hope that catches up with him as it has with everyone else.